Extricating. The more one learns to live in life as a process of realization and self-actualization and journey to awakening, the more that one comes to understand the laws of what are involved in that process. If you don't understand something and you're thrown into it, it's very, very frightening. And you end up closing down and protecting yourself, and really nothing positive or constructive happens. And a lot of fear gets built up inside. If, on the other hand, you start to get clear enough to where you understand what's going on to a certain degree, you can see relationships, you get into a position of being able to work with the energies, to integrate and harmonize, and to bring about much more constructive, positive results. This is the essence of the spiritual life. Being able to use life for what it was meant to be. It was meant to not be a frightful, challenging thing. It was meant to be a constructive, productive, educational experience whose purpose is your liberation. So how does this work? First, if you're afraid, you are not able to use life for spiritual growth. And if you are afraid of life, any of life, if you are afraid of it, if you're afraid of your husband leaving you, if you're afraid of getting fired, if you're afraid of people not liking you, if you're afraid of anything, if you're afraid, you cannot dance this dance at the level that it was meant to be danced. So what level do you dance it at? At the karmic level. If you're afraid, then you're not conscious enough, clear enough, to be able to take the higher road, so you take the lower road. Then the only thing that can happen is that the exchange of life with your fear can just little by little stimulate, push away the causes of the fear, usually by causing you to deal with the fear, and you just get caught inside in this very close situation of you against life. And you end up dealing with the fear all the time, not living life. And you do not grow that way. That is not spiritual growth. Some people can become so cauterized by fear that they literally cannot live in life. Period. They become too far gone to be able to interact on a daily basis because they are so scared. How did that happen? Because some scars are so deep that whatever is happening in the interaction of life is stimulating these kinds of emotions and energies, and you have to spend all of your time and all of your effort catering, doctoring, working, being affected by this fear. Fear is really the deepest of the underlying emotions. It is behind everything. It is behind jealousy, it is behind insecurity, it is behind everything. You're not jealous. You're afraid of losing something. If you were not afraid of losing something, you would feel no jealousy. Okay? That is really, I can't go any deeper with you. You have to work with these things, watch these things yourself. Underneath all of these emotions is fear. Fear creates desire. It is what is at the base. The only reason you desire something, we've been through this before, is because you're not okay. If I just push a button and you're not fearful and you're just absolutely everything's fine inside, you have no desire. You will not even want to go out after anything. It is because you are not okay deep inside, and that is because of all this fear blocks everything, that you are trying to compensate for that by finding things outside of you that will take care of you, that will be better for you, and so on. And that's what creates the sense of desire, the sense of being attracted in need. What is need? I'm telling you, fear creates need. How? Because you're not okay. The fear has closed you down. It has locked you inside. Now the loss and lack of energy creates something to where you need to be bringing energies inside of you. And so it literally creates that sense of need. It's a whole dynamic layer upon layer upon layer situation. And underneath it all is fear. You see it in the animals. Look how fearful they are. They run away, they hear a sound, they do anything. Just this constant state of fear. that is going on deep inside of the human being, is that same kind of level of fear. But in the animal sense, you don't have fear that somebody will notice the dirt on his tail, right? You don't have fear that somebody will not like that the cat has this little white spot going across the cross of their eye and all the rest of them is black. They don't have this issue. You have instinctual survival fear. In the human, it's so beautiful. You have taken care of most of that, and so you're not on a daily basis feeling that you're going to starve to death, and you're able to go about your business without survival stuff going on. Therefore, the fear has moved up to the level that you are interacting with, which has become socialized. And so you have fear that people won't like you, fear of rejection, fear of jealousy, all kinds of the fun stuff that we have fear of, don't we? Fear of the little red spot that showed up under your eye, and oh my God, now I have to go out. This is pretty funny, isn't it? But if somebody notices this little pin spot of red, that happened because I bumped into something, and wow. But in any event, that fear is underlying, and then you compensate, and it just builds these layers and all these emotions. And it takes all of your energy, and it takes all of your time, and it just becomes your life. While fear is your life, and the result of fear being your life, the spiritual stuff doesn't happen. You are living a worldly life. It drives you into having to fight and struggle and work with the world in order to work with your fear, to avoid it and to compensate for it. So the real growth happens, to start with, when you at least have your head beyond the fear to where you can begin to see what's going on. You don't need this world. You do not. You don't even need human interaction. You don't need what you call love. You don't need any of it. You are complete and whole within yourself. You are complete and whole. It is just that these fears block you. As you learn to work these things through by letting go, how does one go beyond fear? You will find in this entire discussion of the ascent that it is about consciousness. The consciousness is lost in the fear. You have two choices then. If the consciousness is lost in the fear, then you either can remove the fear or you can extricate the consciousness. So either you spend all of your time trying to get rid of the fear and be left with just consciousness, or you remove the consciousness from the fear and be left with just consciousness. I will tell you right there, if somebody would even bother discussing that choice, maybe all of humankind can change what's going on, because nobody notices that except the yogi. They spend all of their time trying to remove the fear. Do you understand that? And the yogi spends all of their time trying to extricate the consciousness. If you are working with the fear, you will lose. There is no removing the fear. The fear is interacting with life based upon past experiences and so on. You will spend a very, very long time trying to get rid of fear. So, to get your head above it and really start your spiritual journey, you meditate. You meditate to develop a consciousness that is awakened inside of you, that even though fearful emotions and feelings and different thoughts come up due to different circumstances, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a natural thing. But the fact is that the consciousness is strong enough to sit behind that and just watch it happen. Now you are ready for spiritual growth. That's your work. That's not anything that needs to be talked about. If you cannot sit beyond, then meditate. Then do mantra. You should be able to stand in the face of any situation that comes to you while you're at school, with the big S, all right? And it doesn't matter if you're having reactions. The question is, are you just transcendent to those reactions sufficiently to where you can learn your lessons? Period. So, and obviously, if you went to school and you didn't even know how to sit in a chair and you just freaked out every time somebody came in and every time the teacher wrote on the blackboard that made a noise and it freaked you out, it's like, then you can't learn anything. You got to go back to kindergarten and learn the basics. How to sit still, how to not freak out emotionally every time somebody says something. And so it's the same thing here. If you cannot come into the school of life and stand in the presence of the different situations that are unfolding in front of you, I'm telling you, you can't grow spiritually. You can grow because the very interaction with life is stimulating your samskaras. Your fears will come up and they will throw you all around, and over time karma will teach you something. Very long time. If you can get your head out of the water, and if you can sit consciously in the midst of your daily interaction and always be there. You have to be there. That's why then it's called being there. You have to be there. Why? Because if you ain't there, it ain't going to happen. There's no reason to talk about it. If you want to go to a party and have a good time, I'm going to tell you what. You can ask me for a long time how to have a good time, how to do this, how to do that, but I'm going to start with saying you have to be there. If you're not there, you can take all the rest of the instructions and throw them in the garbage can. It is the same thing with life. You have to be there. And now the question is, are you there? And the answer in most people's cases, a lot of the time, not really. Why? Fear. I dare you to watch it. And you will see I'm right. When you're not there, it's fear. Okay? It's fear. Let's go down to it. All right. Get above it. Let go. You don't need an explanation. You don't need a technique. You just have to want to get above it. Because as long as fear is driving your life, you don't have one. Fair enough? So let go. Stop it. Let go. Let go. I challenge you that tomorrow when you wake up in the morning, you say to yourself, I am going to be able to be there. If I'm sitting in my car and a light's coming up behind me and it's dark, and I see that start, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch the light come up. I'm going to watch them pass me. I'm going to watch my shoulders go up. At night, some car's passing you. Just watch. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to see the tension. I'm going to watch the thing. You don't have to stop it, but I'm going to be there, darn it. I'm going to be there to see what it's like to be at night on a hill in a strange place and have some car come flying up by you and pass around you and see how your shoulders go up and see how you get scared and see how that happens. And you were then there. You win the prize. What prize? Of knowing what happens when the car passes. Otherwise you don't get to know. You get lost and then you come back. Well, during that time where you got lost and then you came back, that's where your work is. That's where God is. That's where the whole spiritual journey is. Anything you do in between those times, child's play. It's during those times that it's all happening. That's when you do business with God. That's when God shows up. That's where your interaction is. If in the midst of that time you're freaked, you don't understand the nectar of those close moments as you're dancing with life. So be there. Don't give excuses. Don't blame the DOT that they didn't make the road wide enough and, or the laws they shouldn't be able to pass at night so fast. And, don't blame your fear on anything. Just learn to be there all the time. Somebody comes up and starts yelling at you. I always give you that one. Somehow I notice people don't like to get yelled at. We take that for granted. Of course I don't like to get yelled at, right? Why? Einstein questioned whether there's time, whether there's space, and he reinvented physics. You want to reinvent your life? Who decided it wasn't good to get yelled at? Who told you that? Who decided? You go on roller coaster rides, your whole stomach falls out from under you, you scream, all kinds of things going on. Why is that okay, but getting yelled at is not okay? There's nectar in whatever happens, whatever takes place, as long as you're there. Can you be there when life is happening? Because if you check out and drop into the fear, you're missing everything. The price of God is the willingness and capability to never go away, to be there in each situation and let it get closer and closer and you're still there, and then it passes through and you're still there. Once that complete thing happens, where it comes and passes while you being there all the time, you will have evolved to a whole nother level of consciousness. I like to say you've just evolved to consciousness. Because in between there was no consciousness. There was a break in consciousness. And I'm telling you, that time that integrates the consciousness with the situation that's happening, that is spirituality. That is where yoga starts. So at least now you have something to work with, don't you? Do you go away? Are there times you go away and then come back? And if you watch, you will see at those moments, fear comes up. But if you stay there, literally, transmutation of energy takes place. And the next thing you know, you're feeling uplifted, actually uplifted by the situation, instead of depressed and hurt by the situation. There are also some scars that take place. You can go through the most tremendous situation, and there will be some scars, none. They won't leave any impressions upon you in the night, when you go to bed, when you try to fall asleep, in your dreams, when you wake up, no matter what the situation was. If you are able to let that situation pass straight through you, and you remain conscious, while it came, while it passed, and while it went, it doesn't leave impressions. It's like a miraculous thing, isn't it? If you do not let it pass through you, if you drop into the fear and lose consciousness even a little, what is happening is the energy is not being transmuted. The energy is being blocked during that period of time. You are resisting the energy. Then it creates a samskara. And wherever you lose that consciousness, you're going to find that you think about those moments periodically, and that they come back when other situations happen. This is so deep. We've never talked about this. What happens while you're not minding the store is terrible. You can be the best business person that ever lived in your 7-Eleven, and you watch every penny, and you keep on top of everything, and you price everything right, and you got the finest equipment and everything, okay? But if periodically you go catatonic when the customers are there, and you leave the drawer open, all right? Every once in a while, and then you come back, you say, oh, yes, can I help you? And, 4 or 5 people have come in and left with your money. You understand? And you weren't there. There was nobody minding the store. When you go to balance the books at the end of the day, you don't understand why you don't do as well as the next guy. You're not going to do as well as the next guy. Because I'm telling you, life happens in those moments. That's where it is. And not only can you not be there in order to participate and benefit from the interaction, but while you're not there, it leaves scars. There's just the dynamics. I wish someday we'll talk about it more. There's the dynamics of energy exchange that happens when you're conscious, and there's a dynamic of energy exchange that happens when you're not conscious. Both of those are worth deep, deep meditation and contemplation. When you are there, high stuff happens. Real high stuff. You stay so conscious that actually past samskaras get released. That's all you have to do, is remain conscious when different energies are passing through you, and they become like a broom. They sweep up the past stuff and they go away. Your past impressions, your past blockages get removed and released because you left them room to do so. If, on the other hand, you lose consciousness, where did you lose it? Where did it go? Is there a leak? No. What it does is leave the center. Your center of consciousness. When you are sitting in the witness, it is here. The energy is flowing here. When the energy stays up here in this higher center, it cannot create blockages and resistance to the energies that are moving below it, because it is staying up here in the higher level. Then the release of energies and the processing and transmutation of energies takes place naturally. When consciousness gets lost, when you lose it and you lose yourself, then it drops below that center and it actually goes down. I told you this last time. The consciousness goes down and meets the energy that's passing through. It goes for a trip. I'm going on a vacation. I'll be back soon. Don't leave the drawer open. All right? And it leaves the center of consciousness and it goes to meet the energy that's trying to pass through. It goes right to where the samskara is that the energy is disturbing. Why did you leave the center? Because the samskara, the past impression, the blockage, got activated. It was fearful. It created that sense of fear and release of energy. Therefore, the consciousness got attracted to that. It left its center. It went down there. 2 things happen when that happens. 1, you're no longer there. You who know yourself as conscious. Your center of being, your awareness, your witness, because you're not residing in this higher center, then you lose that level of consciousness. You're not there. You're not cognizant. You get lost, don't you? It's cute. You drop down because the samskara pulls you there, the activated samskara. Just like if I smashed a hammer on your toe and you were sitting there quoting Shakespeare in your head, I'm going to tell you a secret. You're going to miss a few lines. Okay? Because your consciousness is going to leave and it's going to go down to the aching toe. When energies in exchange in life come through and they hit your samskaras, they get activated, and that's just like your toe getting hit with a hammer. Somebody says one word or one thing happens, you see somebody, it goes like that, doesn't it? Everything gets activated. It's cute. Then the consciousness gets attracted down there, and during that time, like I said, two things happen. One is you're not there, so therefore you're not in control of the situation or aware of the situation. You're just in a reactive state, so that there's no help. You can't help yourself. You're lost. You're gone. The door's open. All right? And the second thing that happens, which is what I was explaining to you, is now the consciousness, which is a force of will. Consciousness, energy, will, they're the same thing. Will is an integral part of the force of consciousness. In fact, I told you once, I don't know whether we can really understand this. What will is consciousness asserted, moving in a given direction. That will create the force that ends up being will. When that force is up against the energy that's moving through, it can't move through. Consciousness is supreme to all other energies. Therefore, it is what creates the blockage. We keep talking about blockages. If there's no consciousness, like at night, things happen. People come and yell at you. All kinds of things happen. Roaches crawl across your head. All kinds of things can happen at night while you're asleep. Guess what? No blockages. Nothing happens. You don't get weird on me. All right? But if you are conscious, if you are aware, and you resist the situation, what happens? The energy stays. This is so dynamic. So the consciousness goes down to the place where the energy is trying to pass through. It is activated by the samskara. The consciousness goes there, and actually by being there creates resistance, willful resistance against the flow of the energy. That's what consciousness does. And so basically, when the energy hits that blockage, it creates an impression that stays there even once the consciousness releases. It like put a mark. And that mark is what will get activated next time something happens. It gets stimulated. And this is what happens when you lose your center. And this is what happens when you come back. In other words, it matters. See, nobody told you what was happening while you weren't minding the store. You were just glad to come back. All right? There's a whole world that goes on while you're gone. This is very, very important. So you must learn how to stay conscious. No matter what happens, no matter what the situation is, you have to stay there. Like if you're an emergency room doctor and somebody comes in and their arm is half off and it's bleeding and everything, right? And next to you, somehow is the emergency doctor's nephew, who showed up to visit. The nephew, forget it, man. The nephew takes one look at that arm, passes out, all right? The doctor is there. The doctor is able to pick up the arm and do something to try to heal it. I want to show you that's the difference between being there and not being there. You're good for something. Something good happens. This is not a joke. This is very important. What happens while you're not there is bad, it's terrible. What happens while you are there is ecstatic and beautiful. So you must do the work that is necessary to be able to maintain consciousness. Those who have studied this over thousands of years have come up with the most phenomenal technique of being there, of maintaining consciousness. It's called meditation. That's what meditation is. It is the practice of remaining conscious. It is putting the time aside to build your center so that no matter what happens, You're still there. It will happen if you do it. All right? So, putting that aside, now you're able to do it. Now you're able to be there when these different situations are happening. The truth of the matter is, at that point, you will see that consciousness is your way out. Consciousness is your path. If you will just be there and not get sucked out of your center, the whole purification process will happen all by itself. And you will see life for what it is. It is not a fearful experience. Life is not a fearful experience. Life is the most awesome experience of the presence of God coming to you to free you. And I mean, every situation of life is that. But you have to be able to stay there. Once you are able to stay there, you will see that you change, that life changes you, that life opens you, it purifies you, it gives you the gift of yourself. And you will be all excited about running into life. You'll be all excited about every single situation that could happen once you're able to remain conscious. Otherwise, you will be scared of life because you're afraid that it will hurt you, that it will pull you out of your center. So the whole spiritual journey is consciousness, and that's all there is to it. If you can remain conscious, she who remains conscious, they move into the higher states. And all beauty starts there. And eventually, you reach the state where nothing can pull you from your center. You can stand in the midst of hurricanes. You can stand in the midst of death and destruction. You can stand in the midst of anything effortlessly. And every event raises you to another level. Every day of your life, you evolve. And you know that you evolve. You feel it, you taste it, you see it. You're not the same the next day as you were the day before. And you become fearless. You become able to stand in the moment without any problem and without any fear of any problem. And once you can do that, life becomes fun. And it becomes a dance with God. What difference does it make what happens next? It is only when you're afraid that you want control. When you are not afraid, it doesn't make any difference. And this is how I would like you all to be. That you couldn't care less what happens next. Therefore, it's fine. And you will see that you can just grow and grow and grow. So this is your journey to maintain consciousness. And you should play with this. You should work with this. Jagrata.